Hi, I'm Candace, a grateful believer in Jesus, and I've struggled with codependence and disordered eating, and I'm really pleased to introduce Julie. Our speaker is Julie. Julie has been a part of Celebrate Recovery for 4 years, and she initially became involved as a support to Jonathan. Julie has started in helping in childcare, but now she has lots of hats, including the leadership team and the worship team, and I know many of us enjoy her participation, especially singing, and the thoughts that she shares with us that are so meaningful. Not only that, she has 3 cats, and she's married to Jeff. And Julie admitted to me anyway that she didn't really have a master plan, and sometimes she wonders, how did I get here? And here she is tonight giving her testimony. And so I am honored to be her friend, and I have been blessed by her honesty and perseverance. Please welcome Julie.
Forgive me, it's long. Hello, Celebrate Recovery. Hello. I feel honored to call you my family. Here in the here and now, I believe I'm a child of God. And in the here and now, I believe that He has chosen me. In the here and now, I believe I'm made in the image of God. And in the here and now, I know He has made me for such a time as this. However, any moment, this confidence can quickly get swept out from under me. Claiming these promises often remind me of who I am and whose I am. But you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of Him who called you out of darkness and into His wonderful light. 1 Peter 2:9. And this verse, for one man He has made all the nations, and they should inhabit the whole earth, that He marked out their appointed times in history and the boundaries of their lands. Acts 17:26. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus who is fighting daily for gratitude. I have struggled with the idea that recovery is for me, and this has been a journey of learning how to surrender my life to Jesus. I'm overcoming identity crisis, perfectionism, people-pleasing, anger, control issues, codependency, fear of failure, and not being good enough. My name is Julie. As far back as I can remember, 2 Corinthians 12:9 has been with me in my life's journey. But He said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will gladly boast all the more about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. This text was a promise to me that Jesus could use my weaknesses because that's all I felt I had. However, because of Celebrate Recovery, I am learning what it looks like to boast gladly in my weaknesses, where otherwise I would hide my hurt and struggle and revert to saying, everything's just great. So let's get into it. Yes, that was just the intro. My life before I was introduced to Celebrate Recovery had a plethora of insecurity. My default mode, please others and please God, with my work-oriented mindset, believing I could work my way into being enough for others and enough for God. I strived to feel accepted and needed, hoping that my actions and intentions would arrive at a place where I could fulfill the needs of others so that I could feel love. However, it felt as though when I arrived at a place where I was good enough to fulfill these expectations that I believe others were putting on me and I felt God was putting on me, I felt empty. I did not have the concept of the first principle, realize I'm not God, and I admit that I am powerless to control my tendency to do the wrong thing and that my life is unmanageable. In fact, my life was furthest from this truth. I wanted to control everything. I thought I had the power to make others happy and do all I thought they desired for me to do. However, after some lengthy convictions, I am learning to accept the idea that I'm not God, and I'm not the one to make others happy. That's God's job. It was a very cyclical experience where I would put on my best behavior and intentions to make myself look good, and the greatest desire to please others, especially my parents. And because God was such a big part of our family life, it carried over into pleasing God. Growing up, I felt the need to please my parents, otherwise I feel they were disappointed in me. I despise that feeling. I would do anything to avoid the disappointment. To me, it seemed as though my parents were often disappointed in me. I had insecurities that I failed them, my own expectations, and the ones that I thought God had on me. I felt more insecure and more inadequate the more times I would make effort to be someone I thought I was supposed to be to meet my parents' unspoken expectations. I also did my best to be friends with everyone and please my teachers at school. I attempted to be accepted by everyone. Eventually, I could see that others had more friends, were more liked, or got more attention. I saw that there was someone who seemed to be more funny, got better grades, and I wanted to be that person to make everyone laugh and to everyone liked, and I wanted to be the one with the best grades. But I wasn't good enough. I didn't get there. And so I told myself I didn't care. And that's the mask I would wear. I didn't care. It didn't matter if I made mom and dad mad. It didn't matter if my friends didn't like me. And that's the place of I found myself in some sort of rebelliousness. But I was not very happy there, so I would put my best back on, doing all the things that were expected of me. And that would last a little while, but soon I was disappointing someone and back, not to being good enough. I was born to godly parents. They loved God and did all the good life things. They also provided food, shelter, education, love for my brother and I. They did more for both my brother and I than I could even imagine. Both my parents came from a family where if they wanted absolutely anything, they would have to work for it. My father's parents neglected him and his siblings at a very young age. My father chose to provide and care for the 6 of them, and he started working when he was 7 years old. My mother's parents were very poor, and she started working for everything she needed when she was 15. My parents are hard workers and love their families. Because of my parents' upbringing, we are a work-oriented family. If I wanted anything, I had to work for it. And this is the connection I see of working for approval running over into my spiritual life. When it came to connecting and relating and expressing thoughts and feelings, it was hard. It didn't happen as much as I needed it to. Growing up, I didn't learn how to express what I needed or what I was feeling. It led to very complicated relationships. Nonetheless, I know that my parents loved and cared for me at their deepest core. My parents expected me to do all the things without defining all the things. That's where I learned to expect the expectations that my parents had on me so that I would try my very best not to disappoint them. And I got really good at this. I thought that if I did one wrong thing, I would let them down and they wouldn't trust or love me. I'm not exactly sure how I came to believe all this, but that's what I came to believe. I wanted to be trusted, and I tried very hard. I was taught to love Jesus and got baptized with my friends when I was 12. I truly did love Jesus. I had no doubt. I enjoyed going to church because I attended the same private school for 13 years, and I had good friends that went to the same church. I was a very vivacious girl and would admit that I still am. I lived up to the definition of my name. Julie means vivacious. If you thought I had a lot of energy now, you ought to meet the younger me. I was extraordinarily energetic, talkative, and friendly. I wasn't shy or afraid of anyone or anything. I also wasn't afraid to speak my mind. This is how I see my younger self. I was the firstborn, and even though my parents named me Vivacious, they didn't see it coming. My parents recall the story as they couldn't keep me home from school. My birthday is in October, and I started kindergarten when I was 4. I was the baby of every class, and I wanted to know everyone, and I wanted to be liked by everyone. I would try and make friends with all the kids in my class. The memories I have of my younger years, whether at school or home, is I would be in trouble. The few punishments I remember were writing lines on the chalkboard for talking when I wasn't supposed to, having to stay in from recess because I was laughing so hard during lunch and it was being disruptive according to the teacher, going to the principal's office because I gave the teacher a bad look, and being blamed for cheating when I honestly didn't cheat. but my teacher never believed me. My parents' go-to punishment would be to ground me at home so I couldn't go play with my neighborhood friends. I talked back so often my dad attempted to wash my mouth out with soap, but I fought back. My parents really didn't have a clue how to run me. I had so much energy and I ran them ragged, and I didn't come with a manual. I was a determined, stubborn, vocal, enthusiastic little human, and no matter how hard I tried, I didn't know how to stay out of trouble. I acted out and didn't know how to organize and express my emotions. My middle name is Nicole. It means victory of the people, and my dad translated that as successful. My dad emphasized this in my life by saying I would be a doctor. Julie, you're going to be a doctor. My dad would say it over and over and over and over and over again. He wanted the best for me, but didn't know how to emotionally connect with me. He would encourage me to reach some potential, and I didn't want to let him down. I knew he loved me, but it was hard to feel an emotional connection. I didn't learn how to share my emotions, and since my father didn't have parents to raise him, he didn't learn how to share his emotions. I didn't make it through high school without getting into a semi-serious relationship. I went to the same school from K to 12, so I was well known in the school, and he was new to the school in 10th grade. I enjoyed the attention I received from this guy. It was fun, flirty. He made me feel special, and he listened to me. It didn't seem that anyone really wanted to give me this attention, and he was the first person that made me feel accepted. He was also very manipulative and controlling. It was a roller coaster of an experience. My mom was worried about my relationship and had me promise her I would go to college and wouldn't marry him. I continued to be emotionally and physically connected to him, even though I knew it wasn't good. I went to college, and the struggle of leaving the relationship behind was hard. Eventually it happened, and I looked for emotional connection in a different relationship. I kissed more frogs than I would have liked, thinking that maybe this one would be different. But something went wrong. I didn't have that good of grades, but worked hard in college. Because my parents paid for my education and said I would be a doctor, I didn't want to let them down. I didn't want to disappoint them. I didn't want to bring shame upon my family, and I didn't want to be a failure. Despite all the times I got into some sort of trouble, I really wanted to please them. I wanted to make them happy. I was a people pleaser with a lot of rebelliousness. I was friendly and outgoing, but judgmental and critical, and I wasn't afraid to speak my mind. I believe I hurt a lot of people. I didn't know where to find myself amongst all this. I had no true identity in Jesus because it was about living up to the standards and expectations I felt were placed upon me. Julie, you're going to be a doctor. I went to graduate school and I studied to be a physical therapist. I wasn't sure if I wanted to be there, but I didn't want to let my parents down. I was going to be a doctor, and I sat in class for 8 hours a day, studying for the rest of the day, studying through the weekends. I had many days I would cry and wish this all would be over. My schooling was in Michigan, far away from my home in British Columbia, Canada, all away from all the things I knew, the friends that I thought I had, and stuck in a dorm with no one I knew. I was feeling incompetent for the tasks that were required of me. What was I doing there? What was God doing with me? I struggled a lot to keep going. I did go to church, however, and there I learned how to journal the Gospels. This really stuck with me and encouraged me on the hard days. I didn't want to be at graduate school. I felt as though I was being brainwashed into someone I wasn't. But with some serious encouragement from my dad, I kept going. I didn't want to let my parents down. Here, also in graduate school, it seemed as though I was seeking emotional connection. I got into a relationship that was emotionally abusive, manipulative, and demanding. I was at rock bottom, unsure of what my future held, and emotionally empty. I graduated from physical therapy school August 2010, and again left a relationship. I went home, spent a year just passing time. I had a relationship with God, but it was a very do this and do that, and you're good. I enjoyed going to church, but didn't want to see myself as a sinner, but one who just kept the rules. I didn't have a deep relationship with my parents, because if I followed their rules, I wouldn't cause any problems. I passed physical therapy boards after failing the first time, and I was encouraged one of my friends to go for a job. I did. Got a PT job in Colfax, Washington, October 2011. My mom convinced me to attend a church nearby, and I went to that church. And that is where I met Jeff. There were sparks the moment our eyes met. And energy met energy. It was like we always knew each other. We fell in love the moment we met. As we spent time together, it was as if time didn't exist. We had a magnitude of desire that was off the charts. I wish we could say it was a gradual, beautiful merging of our lives. But there were also moments where I argued and yelled and verbally abused Jeff. I didn't know how to express my emotions, and I didn't have a very good relationship track record. We continued our relationship in long distance. Neither of us were giving up. We loved each other, and we fought for each other, despite our dysfunctional communication and emotionally abusive language. We went through a couple marriage counseling sessions, and we weren't going to give up on each other. We got married July 2014, 2.5 years after we met. It's a day that I'll never forget. The rain completely engulfed us when we were taking wedding party photos out on the golf course in Kelowna, my hometown. I've never seen rain fall that hard, that fast, that much. It was raining sideways. Out of the blue, all of us were drenched. And we made the best of it. We put on a smile and took photos. After we were married, we struggled with communication, but worked really hard. We spent 6 months in Africa, which helped us grow stronger together. Africa stole my heart. Such a beautiful place. When we came back from Africa, we lived between my parents' houses. We didn't really have much direction in life, and it was hard living in different parents' house, trying to create our own identity. Jeff wanted to come to Bible school here at Arise, put on by Light Bearers in Jasper, Oregon. And so we did that. Got a PT job in August 2016, and we moved here temporarily. So we thought. I sat in on a few classes and was like, wow, I want to do this. So the next year I quit my job. It was a hard decision, but I wanted a greater experience and a greater understanding of Jesus. I was tired of checking the boxes. I couldn't keep up living a life that I thought everyone expected from me. I continually failed to meet the standards around me. I was feeling trapped and out of control, and I reached this level of insanity. I tried to do things that were expected of me, but failed. I needed something. My marriage was also out of control. We hit rock bottom. I blamed Jeff for everything that I felt went wrong in life, all the expectations I was unable to live up to. It was a complete and total mess. At Arise is where I found a deeper understanding of how I know that I am God's child. Romans 8:15 says, "For you did not receive a spirit of slavery to fall back into fear, but you have received the spirit of adoption as sons, by whom we cry, Abba, Father." As I grew in more understanding, I wanted to recommit my life to Jesus, and here is where I was rebaptized together with Jeff in the river, surrendering our lives to Christ. We continued in ministry here in Oregon, sharing and living Jesus. However, that did not give change to my identity crisis, perfectionism, people-pleasing, anger, control issues, codependency, fear of failure, not being good enough. My name is still Julie. Of course, I didn't believe that I had all of these at this time, but I was drowning in hopelessness of my insufficiencies. Our marriage and my life was a roller coaster, not gonna lie, struggling with things that didn't seem that bad, but when my struggles daily raised their ugly head, they had serious effects. 2018, we were introduced to Celebrate Recovery. Yeah. By Jonathan, And I didn't think I needed that, but was encouraged to support Jonathan starting CR here in Springfield. Since being introduced to CR, my life has gradually morphed into something beautiful that only Jesus can do. Amen. I was a Christian and I didn't need any changes. I was here to help everyone. But soon I realized how much there was for me to take account of, how much I wanted to appear just good enough and that I had it all together. My anger issues were not my husband's fault. My inability to express my emotions were not my husband's fault. When my husband didn't do as I requested, yelling was not fixing the situation. The insecurities I held about myself could not be defined by my husband. Where did all these insecurities come from? Oh, and the codependency is staring me square in the face. Yes, all of this sounds so overwhelming, but step 2 says we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Yes. For it is God who works in you to will and to act in order to fulfill his good purpose. Philippians 2:13, he is working in me. Marriage is not easy for me, and we have had so many struggles. I don't have all the answers, but I know Jesus who heals and forgives. I'm so grateful to my husband for being patient with me, continuing not to give up on me, continuing to focus on his own recovery. Thank you, babe, for believing in us. I'm just amazed by how God is using you in my life. I'm so grateful for Celebrate Recovery, the place where I'm reminded to surrender everything to God. I am learning practically through Celebrate Recovery how to boast in my weakness and trust God that his power is in my weakness. Every day I must take myself to Jesus. Celebrate Recovery has been a community where I get to be honest and find healing for life's journey. I'm so grateful for what God is doing in my life. I am learning how to have a better relationship with my parents. I'm learning to trust Jesus with unfulfilled dreams. Forgive people who have hurt me. Apologize to people who I have hurt. And live in true, authentic relationship. My marriage has grown, and I am so proud of us. When I see myself as unworthy, I am reminded in Isaiah 43:1, fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name, and you are mine. Amen. When I am bombarded by the world and from myself, I am not enough. God says, I will carry you, and I have made you, and I will bear, I will carry, and I will save. When I feel like I can't get it right, Ezekiel 36:26 says, and I will give you a new heart, and a new spirit I will put within you. In 2021, I went to Celebrate Recovery Summit in Texas. It was a life-changing experience for me. On the last day at the end of Summit, there are multiple big wooden crosses placed throughout the large sanctuary. It is a time where they encourage us to all come to the front and nail to the cross the things in which we are struggling with. And that year I decided that I was going to nail my not enoughness. It was going on that cross. And I was tired of the pain and chaos it was causing in my life. And I wanted nothing more to do with it. I nailed it as hard as I could. And I want to acknowledge that Jesus has freed me from that thought for a very long time. Until recently it's come back and it's bothered me. And this community has been here for me in my not enoughness. And sometimes God takes it away for a little bit and then he'll just bring it right back. But he has a community here, and I'm grateful for each one of you. Life can throw us in all sorts of directions, but I want to defiantly trust that Jesus is making a way for me. I know that there is freedom walking out the principles and steps of Celebrate Recovery. There is freedom in knowing who Jesus says you are, and there is freedom being honest and vulnerable in community. It's not always easy, but worth it. I've been part of this community for the past 4 years, learning different aspects of leadership. Currently, I'm on the leadership team. I've done 2 step studies. I'm a small group leader and a sponsor. I'm so grateful for each person who I've come in connection with to encourage and learn from one another along this journey. It's an honor to be able to serve our community and church. Thank you for being part of this community. And if you have any questions if Celebrate Recovery is right for you, keep coming back. You'll know. Thanks for letting me share.